3000.
What is doing? I hate doing it, but I'd like everyone to like, subscribe, share the content. Sharing is really important. If you like the content that I'm bringing you with the 3000 podcast, you want to help us grow, make sure you do all that stuff. Follow us on Instagram, like, subscribe, share, do all that good shit. Now to the episode. What is doing? My name's Maloney. This is the 3000 podcast. I'm joined today by an artist, Tayla Broekman.
Yes, correct. You got it right.
See? I often get people's names right, and people always go to correct me, and then they're like, no, you actually got it.
Yeah, probably because you do good research before you interview them.
Sometimes.
Do you think?
Sometimes I do, but it's always... No one likes getting their name stuffed up. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. And I'm guessing even your first name, people mess that up sometimes, do they?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, Talia.
Yeah.
That's mostly the mistake I think that people make.
Yeah. I was listening to your Vantage Point one earlier, and he couldn't get his head around it.
Yeah. That's right. I had to correct him early on. That's right.
So let's talk about your journey as an artist.
Okay.
We have connected through a mutual artist friend of ours who was like, you should definitely speak to Taylor, and I value his opinion greatly. And that's when I started to follow you, and I've watched your work, but I'm not overly familiar. So let's jump into your story about how you got involved in art.
Okay. Gosh, where do we
Let's go
start?
right back. Yeah.
Okay. So 3 years old. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've just always been doing it, I suppose. Like kinder, primary school, high school, and I guess it was a combination of like I guess I liked the escape of it, but also it seemed to make everyone around me happy. They liked me when I would do it. I think a lot of artists have this, but they may not say it out loud. But like for me, at least when I was growing up, like I'd get approval for what I was doing. And
Validation.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And all my teachers supported it. My family supported it. I liked doing it. I felt good about myself. Every time I would draw something new, I'd be like a next level of impressed by what I was doing. So that really kept me going.
You had the natural ability since the start.
I did, yeah. Yeah. Actually, I was talking to my family last night. We were at dinner, and my uncle was saying that my work when I was, like, before I went to school was, like, amazing. And my brothers too. And I suppose it was just untainted. But then going to school, you start painting, like, a house and a tree and, like, standard stuff. Yeah, we just get, like, kind of mainstreamed into drawing normal stuff. So I'm so curious how I would have been painting if I just went on the path that I was on, in kinder.
So what kind of stuff were you doing that he's referencing? Like just uninhibited
I
kid
guess.
drawings?
I mean, I have a memory of a photo of me in kinder where it was pretty it was like minimalist. What was the other word that I had for it? I don't know. It was like I had these two paintings next to me. One was like a yellow line on the left corner, and then a red line on the right bottom corner, and then a dot in the middle. And then the next one was like the same, but like red in the left, top left, and then yellow in the bottom right. So it was like the same, but swapped over. And it was just like some kind of abstract minimalist kind of thing that I wouldn't expect from a kid in kinder, I guess.
And you're messing around with composition, balance, color, like all these principles, and you didn't even really know, but you were just doing it naturally.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I feel like I'm talking myself way up as a child.
But, well, if it's true, it's true.
But like, yeah, okay. So I guess there was just like a natural knack there is what I'm getting at. And then I suppose when I was about 13, I was like, I think like I'm realizing that this is a path for me and I want to be an artist. I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but I was like, I think this is my direction. And
school was for you, they were like pushing it, saying this is a good path, you should follow this if you're good at it, if you like it.
Yeah, I don't think they actually had that much knowledge of where it could go. Like, I mean, there's a lot of directions you can go with art. But they just wanted me to keep doing what I was doing. So I went to a kind of sort of creative school So there was no like suppressing what I was doing. There was just only support from them and from my family. And I think without that, it would have been really hard for me to pursue it.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have done it.
No. And you can see why people of other generations that just don't get, they don't get the help that maybe people of our generations do get when seeing that art is a viable career path now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just wouldn't have made sense in the past. I guess there weren't that many jobs in it, or it was just too unreliable. I can see, why back then it would have just not been a good choice.
Yeah.
But I think it also just depends on like the values of the parents too. You know, if they're more about freedom and expressing yourself and authenticity, then maybe they would have supported it.
And being happy.
Yeah, being happy.
Right? Which gets overlooked a lot with some of the older generation.
Yeah.
If I told my nan I wanted to be an artist, she would have been like, no, you got to have a real job that you can hate and do, and then have a mortgage and be miserable. That's the plan.
Yeah, totally. I guess it was more about survival back then than being happy.
I guess.
Or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're just like really spoiled now or something.
I think we have a lot of first world problems.
Yeah.
But that is a whole different kettle of fish.
It is.
So then at school you're doing art-related electives, just visual stuff? Are you exploring other kinds of art?
Yeah, what did I do? I guess I focused on visual arts, and then I also did ceramics, so like sort of sculptural stuff, which I did well at as well. And then I also did visual communication and design, so that was kind of more commercial leaning, and I did well in that too.
Yeah.
So...
And that's generally where the teachers are like, look, if you're artistic, get this, and you've got more job like more ways that you can apply this to real world workforce stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I think at the time I thought I was just an artist, but I remember I didn't get as good grades in visual arts as I did in the like commercial sort of class, which mystified me. But I understand it now because I am a bit more of an illustrator type than like artsy type.
Fine art.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of a mix in between, I think.
Well, your work now does have a very illustrative sort of edge to it.
Yeah, yeah. But then I apply it to like different contexts that are not sort of illustration contexts, I suppose.
We'll get there when we get there, and we can
We have
break
to
it
do
down.
the whole history.
Do the whole thing. So then after school, do you go and study art?
Yeah, what did I do? I think I did 2 years of visual arts after school. I wanted to have a year off. I don't remember why I didn't. So I went straight into uni. And it wasn't good. I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm. Which uni did you go to?
I went to Vic Uni.
Which would have been hard to get into.
I don't know. I think it was like... No, I did TAFE. So I think it was like less advanced kind of thing.
Because Vic's in Footscray, yeah?
This one was in the city.
Okay.
This one was in like just off Swanston Street.
Yep.
But I think I did really well at the practical classes like drawing and painting. Actually, no, painting I didn't do that well because I wasn't like conceptual enough, and they really wanted me to like be heavily conceptual. I feel like this is a thing that happens in art school a lot, especially at places like RMIT and BCA, is like this real emphasis on conceptual over aesthetic. I have like a lot of friends that report this similar kind of thing. Like,
so they, just so I can get my head around it, they just want to produce the work, but they have to show the concepts behind it rather than the finished product. Is that where we're going?
I guess I feel like they prefer you to have a really strong concept before you make the art, and then when you make the art, they prefer it not to be like beautiful. You know, they prefer it to be really abstract and more about the concept than about the aesthetic. Yeah. So I've heard a lot of reports of people going into visual arts at RMIT or something with their own style and their own kind of direction and idea, and then they all sort of pop out the same kind of cookie cutter abstract artists that are like working with string and, you know, a box on the ground and you know, a pile of sand or something, you know, like they might come in with like illustrative anime kind of work, you know, like me, and then they'll come out doing abstract sculpture. And that seems to be a common thing that's happening. There's this like really strong emphasis on just the concept being really heavy, and then the aesthetic and the creation not really traditionally beautiful.
And you think that's something that they're deliberately doing, or it's just a coincidence that it keeps happening?
No, I feel like it's just a cultural change in visual arts that I'm trying to think about when that would have started. Maybe like in the 40s, probably. I'm thinking about like Duchamp's urinal, if you know that one. Yeah. Like I feel like around that time, things started to get like, you know, it wasn't about painting a beautiful picture like it used to be, you know, hundreds of years ago or, you know, 200 years ago. It started to be more about just, making statements without the aesthetic.
And that's sort of almost the beginning of, well, what is art, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of where that whole
totally.
thing, like, if we say it's art, it is art.
Yeah.
And it's in the eye of the beholder. There's a whole, like, there's a lot of thought process that goes into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's more than a urinal, but it does change the whole conversation.
Yeah, and I really respect and appreciate conceptual art like that if it's done well. Mm-hmm. I don't love it if it's, you know, just if it's not authentic and it's not good, I guess.
Yeah.
I can find it just a bit annoying and distracting, but when it's done well, I'm like, this is amazing. So it's not like I don't value those things, but it's not really what I can do. It's not what I'm about. And I guess at school, I didn't get good grades because I didn't really know what I was doing with my work yet, for one. So I couldn't really say, this is what I'm about, this is what my work's about.
So how would you describe it now if you're retrospectively thinking back to what kind of work you were making then?
Okay, so I guess now it's it's kind of embarrassing to say this, but I feel like everything I paint is a self-portrait.
There's a lot of female.
Yeah,
in there.
but even the men, and not that I paint men a lot, but like if I was painting men, it would be me. Painting animals are me.
The animals are you too.
Yeah, everything's me.
Wow.
Which is so funny because like in my life, I feel like I can be very self-centered as well. And I'm like, oh, it's just showing through my art. That's the thing. It's like there's all these subconscious themes coming through in my art that I'm like, that is just so what I'm like in life. And that's why I'm like, this feels like really arty, feels like art to me more than illustration, because I'm like, I know there's so much real stuff coming through just totally subconsciously. And that's how I work. I don't really do concept first. I might have a little bit, but I'll make the work, and then after I'm like, I'm seeing like what was happening at the time is coming through in that work, or that's sort of what tends to happen. I can look back at it and be like, I can see I was feeling this way, and I see that in that piece.
Do you expect that others can pick up on that, or is that just because you created it?
I think so. I mean, most people tend to see that it's me, even though every character looks different, but they all look like me somehow. And a lot of people are like, oh, is this you? I'm like, yes, I'm not trying to, but yes, it's me.
Well, they can't question your authenticity, because if it's you just coming out in the work, well, then you're only being yourself.
And that's the thing. That's one of my strongest values in life, is like being authentic, and I can't be any other way. I don't know how to not be just like totally myself, sometimes too honest.
Yep.
And so I think that's probably another thing that's showing up in the work, is that like, yes, I'm just showing myself as I do in life.
It's a representation of who you are, and that's what it is. I think there's a lot of artists out there that struggle to find themselves for a long time. So it seems like you're on the right track reasonably early.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. I mean, I think I figured out my style maybe 10 years ago. So I've been like developing that style and the themes and stuff since then. Should I jump back to?
Yeah, so let's go back to the school.
Yeah.
When you didn't dig it, right?
Yeah. So I didn't get great grades in some of those classes, and then that was a bit of a deterrent for me. I kind of didn't make art for like a year or two after that.
Which is funny because it's subjective, you know what I mean? And it's art. How do you grade art? It's a whole thing.
I know, it is weird, isn't it?
So you shouldn't let it get you down, but I guess it does.
Yeah, I think at the time I just didn't really understand that like it just wasn't the place for me. So I had a break and I travelled and stuff, and then I did illustration at NMIT, which is now Melbourne Polytechnic, and that was awesome. I really loved that. And actually a lot of people in my art community, like around Collingwood and stuff, did this same course.
Was it digital or like pen and paper types?
We did both, yeah.
Right.
We did painting and drawing. We did digital. We had like a business class in there. I think there was like some sculptural stuff too. So it was kind of broad. So with like a commercial lean, but also like teaching all these technical abilities of how to make the work. So that was the first year. And then the second year was like self-directed project kind of thing. So you could make a folio, you could make an exhibition, you could make a book.
What did you decide to do?
I think for the first half of the year, I tried to make a book, which was like, ended up being a huge, way bigger task than I expected.
Yeah.
And then I think I bailed on that halfway through. They said we could. And then what did I do after that? Maybe I just worked on folio after that for the second half.
But the whole end game was to be a self-sustaining solo artist. Is that what you're trying? Or
Yeah,
you
I think
thinking
so.
you're going to get into the workforce with a more commercial application? What did you think?
I guess like I didn't think a lot because because I didn't know what else to do. I was like, okay, I'm feeling like I can re-enter art again. What will I do with that? Well, I think this course feels good. I resonate with it. I think I could do really well in this course. And that was like as much as I could work with really, because like what else am I going to do? I ain't got nothing else, man, that I'm aware of. So, and I feel like a lot of us feel that way, that like we're artists. And so we're not going to be doctors. We're not going to be receptionists, although we probably could be.
And I'm sure a lot of artists do those jobs just to get by.
I suppose so, yeah. But I'd never really wanted to have a side job. I sort of do these days, but I think at that point I just wanted to pursue art and just see what would happen. So I didn't really have a huge goal except for just to like pursue what felt good about it. And then the business class in there helped because it's like, okay, this could be like viable. I could just like enter the art world and see what happens. And they did put emphasis on as well, like being an illustrator that exhibits too. So it was like you can be an illustrator and you can be an artist.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I pretty much entered the sort of industry and art world that I'm in now the year after that.
Just jumped in.
I did, yeah.
So you finished the course.
Yep.
Did well.
Yep.
Okay. And then you're like, okay, so now I'm an artist.
Yeah, now
I've got to
I'm
go
an
be one.
artist. Yeah, I suddenly had this different standard for myself because I'm like, I'm an artist now, so I must be professional. But yeah, I started exhibiting that year. I probably exhibited every month or two in group shows, had a couple of solo shows, and it was sort of around the time when I started hanging out with, like street artists and writers and stuff. So I started painting walls a little bit with some of my writer friends, just in a bandos at that point. So it was kind of like I wasn't doing street art fully at that point, but it was like an idea that I was thinking I could pursue for fun. So that's pretty much when I started to learn spray painting.
So before that, you're using like oil-based paint. You're doing that sort of thing.
I think I was mostly using acrylic and gouache on paper. Or do you mean? Yeah, you mean
just when you're painting larger stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, large. Well, I mean, I think I was like for like properly large wall stuff, I was probably using more spray and a little bit of house paint. So they were both kind of new to me because I didn't paint walls that much yet at all. And then the next year I started working with a mural company. And then I did 4 years with them.
Some decent stint.
Yeah, it was. And it was...
So how do you find these guys? I don't know how to turn my phone. I'm going to try and turn it on silent. I don't know how to... How do you find those guys?
I think a friend of mine worked there and he said I should apply. And I was like, I don't know if I could do that. But I did apply and it was so awesome at the time. Like the first maybe 2 years of that was really awesome. Huge learning curve. I learned how to be a muralist. I learned how to work hard, work my body physically hard, how to set up a mural, how to just work on that scale.
So you're talking big side of the building type stuff.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
scissor lifts and all the rest of it.
Yep, and swing stages would be like 15 stories up.
Wow.
Type thing. So yeah, it was a pretty good experience for early on with murals.
And so you're doing your original artwork but with commercial applications, or how are you doing
Nah,
it?
I didn't do any art of my own art with
Right,
them.
it's you're literally painting like advertising.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of, I don't know if you know Apparition Media. Mm-hmm. In fact, it is Apparition Media.
Right.
Yeah, that's who I worked for. So that was like the early days-ish for them, before there was like any other company doing that. Yeah, so it's all advertising basically. More
But
or
I
less.
guess from the look, artistically, it's not pushing you, but you're learning how to do that. You're learning a skill set that you can take in future.
Exactly, yeah. And then we'd all be just doing like our own art stuff on the side. So I was still exhibiting through that time. I think I had a solo show as well, which was like a lot, you know, because I think I was doing 9 to 5, 5 or 6 days a week on the wall.
Yeah.
And
It's
that
like a real
killed
full-time
me.
job.
Yeah, it was a proper full-time job. And it just, it killed me. I was like a zombie for the first year.
Are you on like a salary? Do they pay you per gig or whatever?
No, it was, they paid us casual rates.
Okay.
So
that's decent if you're doing a lot of hours.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to like talk shit about them, but like there were some pros and cons, I can tell you that.
I can imagine, yeah. And you'd be expendable to them. They'd be like, if you don't like it, we'll find someone else.
Yeah, I mean, that was the vibe,
I could imagine
definitely.
that,
But then I think we also had skills that hardly anyone had at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So realistically, we would have been an asset to them, but I think we also just didn't want to like go work at a cafe. We're like, okay, there's some things about this that suck, but it's still better than the other options.
Yeah, you've got your foot in the art world to some extent.
Like we're learning, and we loved the team loved each other. We loved hanging out and working together, and we're still like building our skills. So it was kind of, like I was saying, pros and cons, and I guess the pros outweighed the cons for a while. And I think 4 years was enough of a stint for me to
I think
get heaps
4
of value.
years is in any job,
Yeah.
in anywhere, 4 years is enough to learn what you're probably going to learn.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So then when it came to an end, did you think, okay, I'm going to have to go and once I rip this Band-Aid off, I need to make sure I've got enough work lined up?
Well, so I feel like I hit the ground running, sort of, because I was like exhibiting and, for the last like 5 years, and had network in that industry. So I already had like a lot of resources ready to go. I think it was, for a lot of us at Apparition, it was just kind of like self-belief that was the inhibitor, just like feeling like we could actually do it full time.
Yep. Was it a bit of a mass exodus? Did a lot of people leave at the same time?
There were phases. Yeah, different phases of people, sort of a few going. And I think for that next year, I think I just travelled the next year. I didn't really work. I did paint a lot, actually. I went up the East Coast and I painted with a heap of people along that trip. But I don't think I really did any mural work, like paid work.
Yeah.
I was in the Darwin Street Art Festival that year. But it was more just about, I wanted to really get into spray at that point, because I was like, it was something new and exciting. I mean, I'd been dabbling with it for a few years, but I wanted to really like push it and learn it.
Yep.
So that kind of excited me, and it was really awesome to paint with writers all the way up the coast, because they have experience and they wanted to support me, which was really lovely.
And they like cool characters.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You can do that.
Yeah, it was pretty sick to like have their pieces and then my character there.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
And I guess it also teaches you different skills, like how to complement each other. These colours they're using in their piece, I'm going to use this. This is going to work, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah. Yeah. And even just like culturally, like just hanging out, painting with these people really sort of set the tone of like what it can be, I mean, not in terms of paid work or anything, but just like how cool and fun it can be to be going to these random places, bandos and under bridges, and just like have fun with your friends while you're creating together. Yep. Just like super good vibes, really. So I feel so lucky that I had that intro.
Yeah. And then that changes the way you do your own art as well, I guess, because you're seeing, look, I've got a lot of mates that paint and I just watch. And I'm guessing you're learning techniques and seeing how to use cans in different ways, and it's opening up your mind a bit.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, yeah, some of the people that I painted with are super talented, so I definitely learnt things from them. And also just like the speed of painting, I think, and like the just kind of like the minimalist way of doing it. Like sometimes I'd just go to the shop and just grab intuitively like 4 or 5 cans and be like, okay, I'm going to do something with this, and then go to the wall and I'll find a sketch and then I'll do what I can with those paints that I've got in the time that we've allocated or whatever.
Parameters are good.
Yeah, exactly. And just like busting it out, you know, not being precious about it, and not getting caught up on too many elements. Like, is the composition right? Is the tone exactly right with these colors? Because that's what I would do in the studio. I'd be really picky about colors and tones and everything to make it perfect. But in these situations, it's just like, just go bust it out. And I think that was valuable as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you learn to work with what you've got, you know.
Yeah.
In the studio, you've got a million different colours.
Yeah.
If you've got 4 different cans, you can make what you've got, and then you make the most of it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that was a valuable thing to learn, just to make it more fun as well.
And that part of your artistic journey, you'd really found your direction and your style by that stage.
Yeah.
You think you had?
Yeah.
Was it a moment where you're like, this is it, or it was just such a slow progression to get to where you were?
Well, I think I pretty much established my style in that second year of illustration school. I just remember it feeling really good, and it was quick-ish to make, and other people liked it. And I was like, okay, I think I might like continue like this. But it only started to really like kick in maybe like the year after. So by the time I was like learning sprays, I think it was pretty established at that point.
And how would you describe your style to somebody that couldn't see it?
I always have trouble describing it. Okay, so I guess it's anime inspired, but it's not anime. Sort of graphic, and there's a lot of focus on color and color composition. It's pretty vague. So vague, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do girls and animals.
And they also have...
A lot.
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, please do.
But they don't have... are they human-ish? Are they humans? Because they're kind of... There's sort of like some, you know, alien kind of vibes that come through as well, like purple and greens and that sort of thing. So they're not really a normal human skin tone. Like...
Yeah, I think I went from natural colours to other random colours just because I love colour so much and colour composition. But also because it just meant that I didn't have to stick to so many rules. Because I found that when I would paint a person with like natural skin and hair, it would be like, okay, well, so she's real, so I've got to paint her whatever she's holding as real, and I've got to paint this animal as real as well. So I have to do that animal as brown. And then it was just kind of like, okay, everything has to be like realistic. That's sort of how it felt.
Yep.
But it was like once I decided to just do a line drawing and then do any kind of color composition I wanted, basically like just disperse the colors in a way that like felt good to look at, there was just way less rules about what I had to do to make it look right kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and I also kind of like that, you don't really know where they're from. They don't really like
there's no nationalities, there's no real, you just...
they're not locked into anything. And I don't know, maybe that gives me some kind of freedom with that too.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I liken it to The Simpsons a little bit. Like when the people have yellow skin and blue hair, then the rules are out the window. You can do whatever you want, sort of
pretty
thing.
much, yeah. Sometimes I have to be aware of what colours I'm using, because sometimes it's like, oh, it looks like Avatar, or like, oh, it looks like The Simpsons, or oh, it looks like Poison Ivy. You know, like if I'm doing green skin and red hair. So yeah, like I guess I'm just like subtle with the changes there, so it doesn't look like a character that already exists.
Which is hard because there's a lot of characters out there.
Yeah, there are. I mean, I guess a lot of people are doing random coloured skins these days. But yeah, it's just like fun. Makes it fun.
It does. But that's the thing, I think, with a lot of artists, if you get stuck into the photorealism, it's amazing and it's great, but doesn't give you a lot of room for artistic expression, does it? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And I really like...
Just move the mic forward a bit. So you
Okay.
Yeah.
I do like realism as well, and I used to paint like that a lot more. I really love lighting, like glows and strong like light on one side and then like underlighting reflecting from the other side. But yeah, it's just so hard that, you know, it would be an awesome challenge, but I just didn't want to do it like over and over again.
Yeah.
So I ended up going with like a really kind of flat matte style that is more, sometimes feels a bit more just like a coloring book, you know, like I kind of draw the outlines and then I color it in, just like it's reminiscent of coloring books for me compared to trying to replicate a photo, which, yeah, I like that too, but I don't want to do it all the time.
No, and I guess then it opens up the whole new thing. If you're going to be doing your own art professionally, there's a fine line between doing what the client wants and doing what you want, and that's a balancing act, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I think for the last, I don't know how many years, I guess since I left Apparition, I've just been really focused on either doing my work or doing work that like aligns with my style. So I haven't been saying yes to jobs that are just like willy-nilly, whatever they want kind of thing. Like I've tried to steer away from being a commercial artist in that way, because I want to sort of preserve my product, I suppose, or like build my product, which is my style. And the more I do other jobs that aren't in line with that style, the more I just kind of will get lost in the crowd. That's how I see it. But it does mean less income because not everyone wants that style.
But I feel like your style is unintrusive, though.
Yeah.
To the point that if you went to a cafe and you said, look, I can do a female and an animal, and they're like, yeah, cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not hard in your face graph style stuff.
Yeah, totally.
So it does, it is some definite avenues for you to do it.
I think so. Yeah. And I'm just lucky that what I like to make is something that other people like too. And it's palatable to the masses for like.
I think it is
for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's just a convenient thing for me. Yeah. I'm just lucky that it turned out that way, that I like it and they like it. But it is still, you know, I can sometimes still get kind of cornered in the style. And, you know, I feel like it's what people expect. And going outside that style is, you know, kind of messing with my business a little bit. And maybe it won't be as sellable. And so I have had that because I've actually had artist block 2 times since I left uni. And they've both been sort of blockages around like having the business and being restrained by having to create this product and for money.
Yeah.
So I've had to find my way out of those things.
Well, I guess, look, it's a hard one, but sometimes you've just got to do the jobs and do them into the most justice that you can from your own artistic merit because you've got to do the jobs, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely compromised in the last few years. I've had really successful years and I've had some seriously broke years. And in the broke years, you know, you take what you can get. So I haven't, but even still, it's been pretty aligned with, I've still done it in my style. It's just not really what I wanted to do. And maybe it was just like underpaid or something, or
it didn't sit right with you for whatever reason.
Yeah. Like I've had to compromise at times. But I don't remember like any jobs that were just like straight up sign writing or just totally, you know, nothing that I would paint. Like I haven't painted cars or something like that.
Some people love to paint cars.
Yeah.
Leave it for them.
Yes, exactly. Like, leave it to the pros who can. And that's the thing. Like, I don't want to do heaps of stuff that I'm, like, not good at. It's not going to be the quality that I want it to be.
Yeah. And that's the thing that a lot of people that aren't artistically minded and aren't friends with artists don't get that. They're like, you're a good artist. Give me a car on fire. You're like, that's a great idea for someone who likes that shit.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that. But the clients think, you're just good at art. You can do anything.
Totally.
Like, why don't you let someone who that's what they do that?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll do the feminine, figures.
Yes, I know. Yeah, totally. That's the thing. I mean, people who aren't involved in the industry, they don't know how it works.
No.
And
they're generally people that aren't artistic or aren't friends with artistic people that don't get it.
Yeah, they don't know. And that's the thing that I learned at school was like you need to educate the client as what's that word? Condescending as that is.
Yeah.
But that's the fact. Like you need to educate them about, how it works and like the prices and stuff. People often don't understand why it's expensive, when we're probably getting underpaid, really.
And also, you got to sort of teach them that less is more a lot of the time. If you sell a bunch of things just to have a visual representation of all that shit on the side of your business, it's not going to look good.
That's right. Yeah. It's got to be like a balance between, I mean, of course, like their needs and then like our professional opinion. We've got to inform and educate about like what's going to work and how is best to like go about the job and the costs and I mean some people just they don't know yet, so just have to inform them.
You have to school them while they pay you.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned that you went out on your own, but you also joined a very reputable collective.
I did.
So how did that come about?
So that must have been the year after I. Oh no, it wasn't the year after. Yeah, well, so I sort of knew Mike Macatron, and I ended up living with him the year after I was traveling, and he used to say like, "Oh, you should move into Everfresh," and I was always like a bit nervous about that because I was like, I just didn't think I was up to standard for a while, and then eventually, maybe a couple of years after that, I did move into Everfresh, and it's funny when I moved in, there ended up being my best friend Chuck Mayfield. And like 3 of my housemates were in there, 4 actually.
And you all lived at his house?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, at different times.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So.
He's got a big house.
Yeah, well, I think there was 5 of us in the house. Yeah, I don't think we all lived there. We all kind of lived there at different times. But yeah, it was weird when I moved in there. I was like, oh, okay, I basically know everyone quite well. Mm-hmm. So that made it really easy to move in there as well.
Yeah.
And I've been there for maybe 2 or 3 years now.
Uh-huh.
And I share a space with Macca at the front. And that's pretty sweet. I love working with him. Has it pushed
your art in a different direction? Or does it help you learn more? Has it helped it?
Yeah. Well, I think the main thing that I like about Everfresh is the community. I guess we hang out a bit and there's always, pretty close resources there. Mm-hmm. If you need work, you can chat to anyone in there. Have you got work? If you need an assistant, you can hire anyone from in there. If you guys are if we just want to have a paint jam, we've got friends in there. And so it's just nice to be connected all the time or just have that connection available all the time. But in terms of my, just what I've been doing with my work, I don't think it's changed it that much. I don't think it's changed the style, the quantity or anything. I think there have been times where I've wanted to up the quality, just up the standard a bit.
Just by being surrounded with people that are good.
I think so, yeah. And we had a group show maybe a couple of years ago. And it was at, what's that gallery called? I mean, it's gone now. It's in the city. It was a gallery that I really wanted to exhibit in, and now I don't remember the name. How important was it really if I can't remember the name?
Whereabouts was it in the city?
It was closer to the business district, and the guy who managed it was Matt. KSR.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so we had a group show there, and I was just this it's ultimate for me at this point, like being in this gallery and exhibiting with these people representing.
Who were some of the people? Like, break down some of the other artists that were there. That you were like, okay, you were stoked to be exhibiting with.
Yeah, so Matt Ling, he's awesome. George Rose was there. Mike Macker, Drez. I think they were some of the more like reputable people at that point. And then, then we've got like Chuck Mayfield, Refuse, which is Camillo, Dan O'Toole, who used to be Ears, Jason Parker, he's got stunning work. And we had Sean Dev as well, Fakaris, Tom Civil, Solvanes, and I think is that all we had at that point? I hope I'm not missing someone because I'm going to be offending them.
But anyway, you were just stoked to be within your studio peers and be exhibitioning there with them.
And representing Everfresh,
Which has a history of being a strong and street art-ish studio.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not what it used to be. I think it used to be so much more raw and ruckus and authentic and like
I've heard
throwback.
Some stories.
Yeah. And now like we have the name, but it's not the same as it was back then. But even still, just to be associated is really like an honor for me. Mm-hmm. So that was, I was pretty excited for that. And I definitely tried to up my standard for that show. So in some of those kind of ways, like it would push me to want to be better and to be doing more. And I think I've been doing bigger walls since I've been there, just like working with the people who are in there as well.
Mm-hmm. Are you someone that generally likes to work in a group setting, or you're just as comfortable by yourself in a studio?
It's nice to have both. Like, I think it's nice to have people accessible when I want them. I don't want to be like totally alone all the time, but I am alone, or I make myself alone there a lot. Like when I go to work at the studio, I'm like tucked in my corner and I usually just mostly stay there and focus. But it's nice to like have the option to go out to the communal area and there's people there. So I generally like to have people around, but like not talk to them, kind of thing.
Just to know they're there.
Yeah, it's like I'm not alone,
Yeah.
But like they're accessible and they're there and we're all together, but I'm like focusing on my thing. And I think that's how I've always been working now I think about it. As a kid, we'd be having a family dinner and I would just be like on the floor at the heater drawing, and it was like I'm with everyone, I'm not alone, but I'm doing my thing by myself.
Okay. Oh, man, I get lonely here. Unless I'm shooting an episode, I'm just here by myself and I'm like, I'd love someone else to use the space just to talk to, you know what I mean?
I can imagine, yeah.
Anyway, that's my issue.
Yeah.
So the Everfresh thing, and you're going to be there for the foreseeable future, that's your home for now?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And a good crew of people, you're loving it there?
Yeah, it's awesome. I think it's one of like the best studios in Melbourne. Mm-hmm. So I'm still really stoked and excited to represent it and to be involved and to be around all the people that are working there. And I can't think of where I would go from there, honestly. Maybe like the US or something, or I don't know. Like,
well, when you did go, you said you went from Melbourne to up the East Coast, but you also travelled through a bit of Europe as well?
I did go to Germany for a street art festival, yeah. I didn't really do a proper travel though at that point.
Berlin?
I spent maybe 3 months in Berlin.
And how's that? Because that's almost like the street art mecca, isn't it?
Yeah. So that was like early on. That was maybe the year after uni.
You haven't found yourself yet?
No. I was only just starting to paint on walls at that point. I think that's where I really early on was painting with Knock in abandos, like abandoned orphanages and stuff. And that was really sick. But like, I wasn't really developed or very aware at that point of graph and street art, and it was only just sort of entering my world, or I was entering that world. So I didn't really participate that much in the art in Berlin at that time.
But I could imagine now it would be a different story if you went back.
I think so. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've been thinking about doing a Europe trip for ages, but what puts me off is there's like so much to do. There's so many places to go, and it's like, oh, I got to build the funds for that and figure out a plan. I'm almost thinking maybe I'll just go to 1 or 2 places just so I like actually go. But yeah, I've got friends in Holland and Belgium and what other countries are in Europe?
But I'm sure now with Instagram and everything, you can connect with people all over the place.
That's right. I chat to a lot of people across Europe, so it wouldn't be hard for me to link up with people and have like an awesome time. So that's kind of like on my list of things that I want to do. And almost every year I'm like, oh, maybe next year will be the year that I go over there and do that. But then I also want to go to the US, and like that's another whole trip in itself.
Whereabouts there? What's specifically there?
Well, my brother lives in New York.
Oh, cool.
He's a director.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I would
like a film director.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'd be going to stay with him. And that's just a great
huge
resource there.
Yeah.
But I think, in LA there's like a lot going on for art and artists, and it would be a good, career step to just like be involved and meet people. And it's not like I would want to move over there or anything, but I think there could be just like heaps of cool and fun stuff to do there.
Yeah.
But let alone like all the other cool states, like not even to do with art, just like all the experiences that there are across the US. But it's getting a little bit less appealing, I got to say, to go over there.
Slightly, yeah, who knows, man? Yeah.
But yeah, these are things I think about.
Yeah, I try not to think about world politics because I just get depressed.
No, I don't think about that. No, I do not think about that as well. I know. It's the same with me. I'm like, it's just overwhelming. Yeah. I just mean like, I think about going to have fun there.
Yeah. But look, man, the US is amazing. But I couldn't stay there for too long. It's just like I just need to breathe. Like it's just.
I feel a little bit intimidated. I think, especially of New York, it just seems so stimulating, overstimulating.
Sure. But if you've got your brother there, like that seems to be a great way to go over there, and you've already got your foot in the door.
Yeah, it's a good start.
Has he been over there for long?
Maybe 6 years. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So. I know it's a resource that I could just I could use that, but I don't know, maybe I'm just being slack, or it just feels like a bit of an ordeal as well.
Have you been in New York before?
No.
See, and that's the thing. So many writers I speak to, they go there because it's like the Mecca. It's like where the birthplace of graffiti sort of thing, and they just want. And then a few of them get a bit disenfranchised when they're like, because do you know what? It's not like 1988 anymore. It's, people aren't painting pieces on trains anymore. Like this idea we get of like, it's all going to be this beautiful like graffiti utopia. It's not like that anymore.
Wow. So people aren't painting on trains anymore over there?
I don't think, well, they are, I'm sure, from time to time, but I think we have, I don't know, as someone who hasn't been to that part of the US, we just think of subway art and like, Star Wars, and you're like, oh, people are just doing tags on the trains, and that's not, that heyday is finished.
Yeah, totally.
I'm sure it happens to some extent, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean the whole like world of painting walls is just like different to what it used to be. I think with graph and with street art, particularly in Melbourne, because that's what I know more about. But I feel like around the world, it's just kind of changed a lot.
Well, I think from an outsider looking in, you look at collectives like Everfresh and just graffiti people that I know, and they'll be the first to admit street artists used to paint with graffiti writers, and then it kind of became its own thing where some people aren't doing anything illegal. They're not even painting in the streets with writers. They're just painting big murals, and they're saying I'm a street artist. It's kind of changed. Totally,
yeah. Even I struggle with the term street artist for myself because I mostly say muralist because that's what I am. Sometimes I'll say street artist just to fit in with whatever the context is. Like if it's going to work with the client that wants to promote me or whatever as a street artist, then I'll say that. Or sometimes I use the hashtag street art. Just because, Are they?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I thought we were supposed to do that with our posts.
I think that
What
might
do you
have died
mean?
a few years ago.
What? What do you
I
mean?
think
How?
hashtags are detrimental now. I
Why?
don't know. We'll do some research.
Yeah, I'm amazed by that.
I
Okay,
think they-
I'm not up to date, I
I
guess.
think they died. I think they died.
They died?
They died.
But it's just an algorithm type thing. Or you're saying the algorithm doesn't work with those
I
anymore?
think that's such an old practice that now if you put hashtags in, it might push you down because they're like, oh, these people don't know what's up. Like, we don't use hashtags anymore.
Oh.
I think.
You know what I kind of like about that is like it shows that I'm detached from like the digital world, and I would prefer that. I'd prefer to not be completely immersed.
It is. It's a really hard one, especially with artists. Like, your art lends itself very well to Instagram because you paint nice pictures. So it works with you. But a lot of other artists that are maybe not visual, that musical, whatever, they have to fuck with this beast that they don't even really want to, which sucks,
Totally.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Instagram really works for me. Again, it's just like a luck thing. It's just convenient that it works for me because it's a visual platform, and it's also like they say, you know, it's good for your business to sort of show your face and show some character and talk to your audience and stuff. And I happen to sort of like doing that.
Yep.
So, you know, I don't do that for business tactics, but it happens to be a good thing to, you know,
It's a good
to do
outlet
that.
sometimes, right?
Exactly.
Especially if you're sitting in a studio or if I'm sitting here by yourself and then you like throw a question out there and then people communicate. You're like,
Yeah.
you're using it for more than just posting images.
Totally. Yeah. It's definitely an outlet. I mean, I think even since like the Facebook days, I've had a bit of I don't know, I've had a lot of people compliment me on my, like back then it was my status updates that I'd see people on the street, you know, I'd just bump into them and they'd be like, you know, I wouldn't even know them that well. And they'd be like, oh my God, I love your status updates. It was just so random, but it made me feel so good. And then I think it started to happen. I guess Instagram was the next one. We didn't have status updates, but you know, there's just been like sort of one thing after the next where I am just like throwing out my thoughts and who I am kind of thing. And people, not everyone, of course, but people seem to really like it. And then I'm like, this is so fun. Like I get to just be myself and people like it.
Yeah.
So I feel lucky.
For sure.
Yeah.
I've recently ditched Facebook, man. I just so
Oh, it's old school now. I only just keep it just for like old records, basically.
yeah, I just post episodes on there because I've got a few thousand friends. I'm like, look, even if you get 5% of those, it's showing them to a new audience.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're like, it is. Oh, man.
Yeah, I know.
I was saying to someone the other day, it's so funny because the only people on Facebook now are the very people that refuse to get it in the first place.
Yeah.
Like older people
Yeah.
and like those dudes that like, fuck, I don't need Facebook. And now they're the ones that use it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess it has a purpose for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do post my art on Facebook as well, but I just never like look at it to reply to comments or anything like that. I think it's just like an automatic post from my Instagram because it's another audience and there's potential customers there and stuff, so I can't neglect it completely. But it's a weird place.
The other thing is you got to remember is Facebook is mostly like boomers now, right?
Yeah.
And they're also the people that have money to purchase murals.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
you know?
Exactly. I know. That's the thing. It's not smart to neglect a platform just because like you don't really like it. You know, it's not about that in this context.
I'd love a new one to come along though, you know? Like something that could shake it up.
I know. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. And like obviously because Meta owns both, they're like, oh, we've got our boomers here and we've got our more artistic younger audience there. But something else has got to come along that kind of just, you know, changes things a bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what
TikTok kind of did, but then it's, you know.
Yeah, and then now it's just another weird sort of place.
Yeah.
I mean, and I kind of like that they're all different. They all offer something different. That's kind of cool. I can't imagine what the new thing would offer, you know. But who knows where our world is going to go at this point.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think? And I always have to ask people this, but what do you think about all this AI stuff, man? The AI art, it's cringe, but people. But do you use it for concepts or anything?
no, I don't use it.
I know a lot of artists that do use it for
Me
concepts.
too. Yeah, me too. And I'm not like entirely against it. I know that I'm one of the, there's apparently three types of people. There's the type that's ahead of the game with technology, always buying the new thing, always interested. And then there's people that are just like the masses that kind of just get with things like when they come up, but they're not at the forefront. And then there's people who are resistant, and then they eventually have to come around. And I'm the third type. So I'm resistant to, I've been resistant to like technology and stuff since I was a teenager.
Yep.
But I'm like thoroughly addicted as well. But that's part of why I hate it. I can see all these things that it's taking away from us, as well as, enabling us. But as it enables us, it takes away our personal skills, I think.
Even just like with my phone, right?
Yeah.
I went to write a text message before and it said, do you want us to rewrite this for you? It must have been
Whoa.
an update, right? So we're getting AI into just text messages.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that necessary?
I
Bloody
don't know.
hell.
I must have done an update and then it's like, do you want me to rewrite this for you?
Oh my God.
I know.
That's
I don't know
crazy.
what button I hit and I'm like, I'm the incompetent one, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting in my industry. I think, it's affecting the art world in all kinds of ways. But the way I see it show up in street art and murals is this is the thing, like the main thing about AI art that I don't like. I mean, there's probably a lot of other things I don't like, but I'm not as aware of them. But I see a lot these days, people just, going into Midjourney and typing in prompts and then taking that design and then just painting it. It's like straight up. There's no addition of their... they wrote the prompt. They might have tailored the prompt in that way, but then so they'll paint it and then they'll say like it's their art. And to me, that just feels kind of fraudulent because it's like, it almost feels like you could just be the client. Like you could just go to an artist and say, okay, I want you to paint this and this and this and this. Mm-hmm. And then the artist paints it and then the client says, look at my art. Yep. It's kind of reminds me of some kind of scenario like that where it's like, what skill did you actually bring to it apart from like the thoughts of it? And maybe you can paint it, you've got technical ability, but like you don't understand the visual and design elements to be able to create that from your own skills. And maybe it's a bit of an elitist, perspective, but that's like the main thing that disrupts me is like when I see like artists, I can understand from a commercial perspective, it could be really helpful for your business. You just like bust out that design and then you can paint it for the client because that's what they want. But like as an artist to say that like, this is my art and then to be like in street art festivals and stuff with like your art.
That's happening now.
Yeah, I've seen that a bit, yeah.
People that haven't paid their dues and done the hard yards that are just sort of coming out going, this is my art now.
Yeah, yeah, and just not saying that it's like, that there's any AI. Some of them say that there's like AI references and stuff. Some of them just don't mention AI at all. And I've seen it so many times, like you can see in the Instagram feed when they switched over to AI art. Oh. You can see like their art up to here, which is like, probably pretty decent. But then it's just like next level talent, like the way that they understand color and composition and what else? I mean, they're the two things that I really am into, color and composition. And it just looks like suddenly their skills have jumped like years ahead to just like insanely professional standard. Yeah. That's like, it's just too obvious that you're copying a picture from Midjourney.
Yeah. And it is a real conundrum, isn't it? Because a lot of people will say, well, look, I'm using the tools that are available to us at the time and blah, blah, blah.
It's a tool.
And it is a tool and, it's a hard one to sort of, I guess it's got to sit right with you, the artist, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely have friends that use it to a degree to create their composition. They might have a picture of a person and they put it into an AI program and, just change the lighting or something or just change the hair and like I said, like I'm not completely against it and I think it is kind of a gray area at times. And I don't feel like I'm the one to judge like what's right and wrong with it. But I just know like in my gut sometimes it doesn't feel right with certain scenarios.
Yeah, the thing is, it's just not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's just going to disappear. And
Yeah.
they're feeding it into us, like I said, with my text message thing. But even when you go to Google something, it just gives you an AI response because it scours the internet. Like, it's just not... It's if anything, it's just going to be more and more and more and more.
Yeah, that's right. And then it's going to start looping back into itself. Yeah, which is
scary.
so weird. It reminds me of, this is so random, but it reminds me of this video I saw of this guy from the future who, like, this was maybe in the 70s or something. It was a video of this guy from the future, supposedly, and he was talking about what the future was like, and he was saying that the world was, so there was no government, there was just like one mega computer that was like the government basically, and there weren't really like individual like countries and stuff, or maybe they were just like different districts or something, but generally it was just like this one big computer that like ran the world. And when I saw that maybe like a year or two ago, I was like, well, that's pretty crazy. I don't know if that would happen or not, but it's looking like it's going towards that.
Yeah.
And like maybe it's deep down kind of what we want, because we seem to be relinquishing to its control, not control, but like letting it do stuff for us more and more and more and more, to the point where, because it's like we don't want to do stuff. We want someone to look after us. You know, we want.
But what do we want to do besides make art then? Do you know what I mean? What else is there going to be left to do?
I don't know. It feels bleak to me. It doesn't feel like it's going in a healthy direction.
No, the people,
my opinion.
the glass half full people, the people that are optimists, they say it's great because we won't have to do all this shit stuff and we can just make art. And I'm like, I like your optimism, but I don't know if I can agree with that.
I don't agree with it either.
No.
It's not that simple.
No. But it's just, the scary thing is how quickly it has changed. And like you said, looking back on those artist timelines, it's like it was something that 12 months ago people talked about, oh yeah, I try and get it to write me speeches for work or whatever, to now people are just using it for everything. And you're like, that happened really quickly.
Yes, very quickly. And I feel like it's going to become like passé at some point. I mean, I guess they have to keep creating new things for it to do, so we keep being impressed by it. But, you know, with the AI art style that is just becoming more and more prominent in art, like you can kind of tell now. Like that's going to become old hat, you know, in a bit. And maybe like humanized art will come back around at some point. For now, it's like, well, this is so new and flashy and impressive. But the other thing I was going to say about it too is like when artists do use AI art, especially the ones that just straight up copy the AI picture, like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because if you ever like make your own art again and like post that, it's never going to stand up to the AI art that you've posted before that. Like who you really are is never going to stand up to what you've been showing people that you are.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen that in a couple of people where they have been using AI too much, and then for whatever reason, like they stopped doing it, and now it looks like some people are sort of trying to like do their own thing again, but it's like, what is this? This is like, it's not as good as you were like, you know, 6 months ago, or it looks kind of weird. It's like partially AI, partially your work. I don't know. It's just like, it's a slippery slope, and then it's just a weird situation, especially if you've been kind of lying about it, or I don't want to say lie because it's not straight up lying, but misleading about it.
Misleading's probably a better way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned a few of the festivals. You said there was one in Darwin. You've done a few other festivals. That sort of thing. Do you like that whole process? Like it's genuinely something good for you as an artist, or is it stressful?
I like festivals. Yeah. I like it because I get to travel. I generally get paid, not like amazingly, but I get paid. I get to meet new people, and they usually just make it like a really fun, good time for all of us. And I usually get to paint what I want. So like the combination of all those things, I usually feel like super elated not related, after I finish a piece for a festival, because I'm like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. Like I'm on my path, you know, like everything just feels so good and right now.
Yeah.
Like,
but you can't just do festivals forever.
no, and it's not like they don't support, like, they're not going to pay you properly, but it's more that I'm not losing money, you know. But yeah, there's so many elements to it that just like tick the boxes of my values in life.
And do you see the followers jump up? And do you see that when you do that sort of
Sometimes,
stuff?
yeah. When I did the one in Germany a few years ago, I think I went from like 15,000 followers to like 20,000 followers, 21,000.
5K is a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I also did one post. There was one post after the Everfresh show that got 50,000 likes.
Wow.
So I got a heap of followers after that too. It's just random stuff like that. But yeah, generally if I do like an interstate festival, I don't think I get as many followers, but you know, there's a little kick. But yeah, the one in Germany was a big one.
Yeah, that's huge.
I know. I mean, it was over the next 2 months afterwards.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it was a big one.
And so plans for more festivals in the future?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I applied to Surface Festival in Brisbane. We'll see what happens with that. They're generally like out of my psyche because I just think about work. But yeah, I mean, I always want to keep doing them. They're just always fun, good times. So,
what's your approach to your large scale stuff? Do you use the silly grid system? Do you do traditional grids? What do you do?
I use a squiggle grid, and I have some shame around it actually.
Why?
Because I'm a little bit like elitist and a little bit purist, I think, and I like the idea of freehand. I think I came into painting walls at a time when around when the squiggle grid came in, and because I'm like a mega perfectionist, I was like, I got to make this like the best it can be. I want to make it beautiful, so I don't want to do it. I don't want to redraw my sketch freehand. I want to like make my sketch exactly the same on the wall. So I went straight to squiggle grid pretty much, but like ideally, I would love to have way better freehand skills on a wall.
But it's like, it all depends on the wall. If you're up a lift or whatever, you can't step back, you can't see. It's very hard.
Yeah. So I feel like some people do that. I don't know how. But yeah, it sometimes is just a waste of time to try and do that. And like a grid is just practical in that sense, especially if it's for a job or you just need to get it done quickly. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I'd just like to be able to do both if I wanted to.
Yeah, but like I said, you can't step back sometimes. So then realistically, you've got what? If you're on up a scissor lift, you've got 2 meters by a meter that you can paint.
Yeah.
How do you, like, it's pretty hard.
I don't know.
Some people do it, I guess.
Yeah. There's a couple artists that come to mind that I feel like I don't see a grid when they
Some
paint
people
it.
don't.
It's freaking crazy. I don't know how they do that, but that's the thing. They have like these old school skills. Like they've upskilled themselves. And that's the thing about like technology that I've never really liked is that like it enables us to do things, but it takes away our personal skills. And I just like have this real thing about independence. Like I really like to be independent. So I don't like to be reliant on too much stuff. And it's interesting. I think it relates to my attachment style. You know about attachment styles?
No,
much?
break it down for us.
Where do I start? I think there's 4 different types. There's secure, there's avoidant, there's anxious, and then there's fearful avoidant. And they all play out different behaviors in.
So everyone is one of those.
Yeah, pretty much. You can change depending on who you're with.
Okay.
Anxious is the kind of person that's like needy and, you know, if you pull away, then they go towards you. Yeah. And they're like always unsure about like, you know, if you're happy and they'll alter themselves to make sure that you're happy. Yeah, okay. Avoidant is like, they don't like to argue. They don't like confrontation. So they're just going to withdraw and be silent. And they're not going to face issues and they might just like leave at some point because it's all pent up. Yep. Secure is basically just like a great person. That's the only good one. They're just fine. Yeah, they're just fine at all times, and they communicate and they're confident in themselves and they have good self-esteem and And then there's fearful avoidant. That's the one that I am. God, I'm really telling everyone my deep.
Have you been diagnosed with this, or you just think that's what you are?
Well, no, not diagnosed, but I think it's what I am. It's what my behavior displays. So this is a warning for anyone that wants to date me. Don't do it.
Blanket, don't do it. Right.
Because fearful avoidant, like they all kind of, like I said, they all suck except for secure. One day I could be secure, but fearful avoidant is like, so it's the combination of avoidant and not anxious, but fearful. So it's like there's a lot of yes, no. It's like if they're not really interested, then like they're keen. As soon as it gets too close, then you're like, no, like I gotta get out of this kind of thing. But I'm not gonna leave. I'm just gonna still be here, but like I won't be with you. And maybe we can get close and stuff. But wow, that's too close. Hang on. No, I think I gotta. This is not working.
Indecisive and don't know what.
Yeah, it's just like stay in this middle ground where it's not yes or no, and it kind of fluctuates closer to one of the two. Anyway, so that's why I'm thinking that I like to be independent, and I don't like to be dependent on things like technology.
Yeah.
I'm just assuming that mentality is playing into all different parts of my life. For example, like I also don't like to settle anywhere for very long.
But that's a curiosity, and that's just like you want to learn and you want to move on, and you know.
I guess. I mean, it just means that my bedroom is never like set up in a comfortable way because I'm like, I'm leaving soon, so I can't relax here, so I can't make it nice, you know? And yeah, I think like with the technology stuff, like I don't want to become dependent. I am dependent on the squiggle grid, and I've had to accept that. But like I don't like to be dependent on a projector or on too much, you know, like too much stuff that I need to just accomplish what I want, I suppose. So anyway, that's a long drawn out reason, deep psychological reason about part of like why I don't like tech too much or just to be, you know, dependent on things.
But I like it because I just learned something. I had no idea that there was those 4 different kinds of personality traits. What's it called? Your dependence?
No, what are they each called?
No, what was it?
Attachment style.
Attachment style.
Yeah, man, it's fascinating. Once you find out your own, you can be like, that's why I've been like this with every person.
There was a dude who came in a few months back. He was telling me that there's 16 different personality traits and that you're either this person or that person. And I'm like,
interesting.
I'd never heard of this. And he goes, yeah. And then he told me, you look it up, you fill out like 25 questions of like how you would react to these situations. And it tells you your personality type. It's really interesting.
Wow, that is interesting.
Yeah, and it's been around for a long time. They use it to profile people for jobs and stuff. Because if you're too, like, ambitious, you're not going to be a good employee.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be too artistic because then you're going to question things. So they try to find the basically submissive people, which is pretty sad. But do you know what I mean?
Controllable people.
They're the ones that are controllable. Yeah.
Is it definitely 16 different?
I think it was 16 different ones.
Okay, because I did a personality test thing last year as well that was enlightening in this way, but it was only 9.
Well, maybe I'm just getting confused. Or maybe there's some crossover ones that,
Could be.
Yeah. What, do you remember what you were?
Yeah.
What the name,
they only had numbers. It was the Enneagram personality test, and I was number 9.
Which is
Do you need an explanation? Oh no, it is the highest number in the thing, but no, it's not in order of like the best one or anything. I don't
scored
think.
a 9 out of 9.
Yeah.
Afterwards, I did the test just to see, and he's like, "Yeah, you'd be something like this." After we chatted for 2 hours, and he was pretty much right. But
wow.
it was interesting.
You could already tell after 2 hours.
I think, well, I'm pretty honest.
I mean, I'm just trying to think. Like, don't think I'd be able to place you in the Enneagram after 2 hours. I'd need to see more behaviors.
Yeah, I need to fill out the questions.
Yeah. I mean,
What brought on you doing it? Why did you do it?
I studied NLP for all up, I guess, collectively, like a year. Mm-hmm. You know NLP?
No. Explain it to us.
It's neuro-linguistic programming.
Wow.
Yes, I'm very intelligent, you see. Can you see how smart I am?
Yeah.
How do I explain it? So it has like a small summary. It's like understanding human behavior and patterns and learning how to like work with them or change them to improve our lives and other people's lives.
So you did it to improve your own behaviours?
Yeah,
or just
mostly,
to learn about them?
Mostly for myself. I can definitely use it for my friends and stuff as well. So I'm like a qualified practitioner now, I suppose. Like I could be doing NLP with people if I wanted to treat them or help them with their issues. But I mostly just use it for myself and for my friends. I don't really want it to be like a job, even though it would be cool as a second job. It'd be fascinating. I just find that like my compassion for people comes just like at the right times. It's not like a 9-to-5 compassion that I can just pull out.
Well, it's something you can use for the rest of your life, that you can, you can understand people more and understand yourself. Why do we do this? Why do we react like this? And then I guess you can use it retrospectively and like, I did that back then because of now I know.
Yeah, yeah. And then I can, if I'm having, some kind of psychological struggle, I know processes that can change my patterns, my mental patterns. So I just don't feel that anymore. And sometimes the change could be, in 5 minutes. It can change just like the way you see something. There's like a lot of belief change in there. So
how did you get onto this just to want to study it?
My dad and my, what do I call her? My dad's first wife. So she's my godmother, my half brother's mum. They both did it, I think early on in like the 80s when I think it was only developed in the 70s or so.
So it's a reasonably new practice.
Yeah, it is. But I think it's a collection of a whole lot of like other stuff that's been created over time. Mm-hmm. And so they, it's come up here and there in my life because of them. And I think, like I've always had psychological struggles in life, struggled with anxiety and then in turn like some depression and stuff. And also just being an artist, like trying to run a business is hard. So I've always been trying to find new self-development angles. And this was just one of the things that I talked about with my dad once. And he was like, maybe you should just try, like, see if there's an NLP course. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, like, let's look it up. And then we found a local one with a trainer who's like one of the best in Australia. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get into this, I think. Because I just like self-development. I just like to do new things that are improving me. Mm-hmm. And then, so I did that. The first course in 23 and then the second course in 24. And it's like pretty, if you like can really harness it, it's life-changing stuff. It's the same kind of stuff that, who is that guy? He's like what are those speakers called? The motivational speaker.
Oh, like Anthony Robbins or
That's
something.
right. Anthony Robbins uses NLP straight up. Like most of what he does is NLP.
Right.
And like athletes use it. Like high-end corporate people use it. Celebrities would be using it. Like it helps you elevate everything that you're doing. Makes you just ultimate at stuff.
See, when you talk about it, it sounds kind of cool. If Anthony Robbins is telling me about it, I'm like, that's wanky as man. You're going to be a better version of yourself, man. It's one of those things that like self-improvement sounds so wanky, you know what I mean?
It does, yeah. But like once you get involved, you're like, oh, I see the benefits now of like...
So it's changed your mindset and the way you think?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Definitely. I mean, I think I resolved a lot of my patterns and issues when I was doing the class.
So it's therapy as well as learning?
Yeah, I suppose it's a kind of therapy, but it's not the kind of therapy where like you need to go into detail back into the story and like go through like what happened or anything like that. It kind of bypasses that a lot of the time because it's more just working with neural pathways and patterns that you have unconsciously. So it's kind of like therapy. We did a little bit of EMDR in it as well.
What's that? You're saying a lot of letters. What's that?
What are they called when you just use the letters? Like it's
acronym.
An acronym, yeah. Acronyms make you sound smart.
They do.
So nah, I mean, they just happen to be what they're called. But that's like have you ever seen like a thing where like they'll do like eye stuff where you have to like follow the finger and it's a type of therapy?
Oh no. therapy.
Yeah, because again, it's like stuff in your brain happening. So you don't have to like go over, the trauma and stuff. Like you just work with patterns in the brain to change, like habitual stuff. I don't know a lot about that, but we did a tiny bit of that in NLP. And actually I saw one the other day on Instagram, on this therapy page that I follow. And it was just like holding out your fingers. This is just like to help anxiety. You just hold out your fingers in front and then you move one to the side and just follow it with your eyes. And then you move the other one to the side and follow it with your eyes. And you just do that like back and forth, not moving your head, just follow with your eyes, like, I don't know, for 20 seconds or something. And then your anxiety is basically dissipated.
Because you're focusing on something.
No, because like it does a brain thing. It does something.
Your brain.
I think it does something with the two hemispheres. It like reconnects the two hemispheres in some way. And yeah, sometimes it's just about getting out of like a looping pattern, like, and just using a different part of the brain.
I was thinking about that the other day with people say, I spoke to somebody and they said that they've got, voices or a lot of negative thought process.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it, I'm like, people say, oh, you get a song stuck in your head, but I'm like, the song stuck in your head's better than negative thought processes. So I'm like, just figuring out how to, like, repetition could be a way to help those people get these negative sort of thoughts out of their head. Do you know what I mean? Like, just focusing on something like that. It sounds so simple, but it obviously it works for some reason.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like distraction, I suppose, or just, breaking the loop, breaking the pattern.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it would be better to be singing a song than to have like demons, just like dragging you down.
Some people, man,
I know, I've been there. Like I hate it when you're in the dumps and like, is that the term? You're in the dumps?
The doldrums, yeah. Down in the dumps, yeah.
Yeah, down in the dumps, yeah. It just made me think of like taking a dump, but that's a totally different, that's not what I meant. But yeah, like the voices that just attack you when you're in that space, it's so shit. And it feels like a different entity sometimes. It's just like that's some other voice that just has to keep pushing you down.
Yeah. So your anxiety and depression's good now?
It's improved, yeah. I actually did, over the last few years, I've done a lot of gut health stuff, and that's probably more than halved my anxiety.
Wow.
Yeah, just
it's
like
amazing how much
crazy.
The stomach has,
Yeah, it was like a silver bullet. Like, yeah, I mean, I've heard about the research about it many times, but I never really thought that I was one of the people that, was in that situation. Mm-hmm. So that's been huge, but also, just trying these different things. That's part of the self-development stuff is fighting to stay on top, fighting to survive, the discomfort of being alive.
Oh,
man.
But, yeah.
Oh, I used to be so what's it called? Nihilist. I'm not anymore, luckily, but yeah, I can really see both sides of the coin of being alive, how much it sucks and how great it is. So I feel like I'm really making effort to go to the light these days.
Yeah, it is easy to get down and just to see the negatives, but I guess that everyone has that in those issues in their life, and it's all part of it. I think, sadly, the more intelligent people tend to dwell on the negatives too much. I don't know why that happens.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
I think there's something, they say ignorance is bliss, and some of the people that are just happy doing their 9 to 5, they're kind of happy.
Totally.
And I'm envious of that sometimes.
So am I. I know. Sometimes I think I should have just been like brought up in a small town or something and just, kept small. And just might have been happier.
The grass is always greener.
Yeah, that's right.
As we get close to wrapping things up, do you want to tell us what else is coming up for your art stuff, or if people want to work with you, if they want you to do some murals, anything like that?
Okay, well, coming up, I'm doing another trip up the East Coast in June, July. So I'm probably going to be stopping in a few towns in New South Wales and up into like the Northern Rivers, and hopefully I end up in Surface Festival in Brisbane. So we'll just see how that goes. And I might be doing a residency in Mullumbimby.
Oh, cool.
which would be cool.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm just focusing on doing bigger walls at the moment.
So if you've got big walls,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
if
up.
you've got big walls, my Instagram is taylor.art, and there's contacts through there. Or you can look at my website, which is taylor.art as well.
Taylor.art.
Yeah, well, I guess you could say www.taylor.art, but you don't even need to do that. Like, just go to open your browser and type in taylor.art, and it'll go to my website.
Tayla.
Correct. Yeah. .art.
.art. Well, Tayla Broekman.
No.
Brookman.
Brookman, yeah.
Thanks for coming in. It's been an interesting chat, and I'm really, I've learned a lot about different things, acronyms, and all sorts of
Yeah,
stuff.
it was a cool chat.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
Thanks.
3,000.